when you're explaining real estate, when you're writing your follow-up, you want to write it like a fifth grade level. You want to pretend that you're talking to somebody younger, not in a condescending way, but just simple, right? Simple and direct. It's going to make sure that you don't lose anybody that you're trying to target, trying to convert.
Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Chime. My name is Brett. I'm going to be hosting today. It's kind of interesting today because today we actually have my wife on this call with us. Aurora Baker, real estate team leader of Aurora and Associates in Eastern Washington. Aurora, you're on your 6th year in real estate, but she's already taken the real estate industry by storm. After spending the better part of her younger years in service industries, she quickly realized that most real estate agents were missing out on a key component of real estate. It's not about just sales. It's a customer service-based business. So taking a whole different approach to real estate, she built an entirely different and extremely successful business as a single agent. By year 2 in the industry, she was ranked number 81 in the state of Washington for transaction size, and then shaved a cool 10 spots off that ranking the following year. Starting her 4th year in the business, she did something remarkable. In the middle of the COVID crisis, she actually stepped out of production and created a referral group of agents that allowed her to stay at home and focus on raising the world's cutest kiddo, who I'm sure will make an appearance on this webinar at some point. So today we're interested in a little bit different. Okay, so since it's just Aurora and I today, and Tristan is not here, I would get to try something. When the cat's away, the mice play. So we're going to try a different format today. We get a lot of people that are newer to Chime or experienced agents that don't feel like they're using Chime to its fullest. And so they are more than often the agents that feel that they have to use every feature of Chime. And they often have a really overcomplicated follow-up. So on today's call, we're going to have Aurora talk to us about the 3 best tips that she can give agents on simplifying their follow-up. What's up, Aurora?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. What are the 3 best tips you can give agents on simplifying their follow-up?
Okay, yeah, so there's a lot of ways to overcomplicate follow-up. And if your system's too complicated, that's basically the easiest way to guarantee that leads are going to fall through the cracks and you're going to lose business. I've seen a lot of agents who they miss the basics because they're busy trying to reinvent the wheel. So I would say tip number 1 is going to be to reduce the number of pipelines that you have. You don't need 50. You probably need less than 10. Anything more than 10, and you're going to get confused about like where to put the lead when you're trying to qualify them. That confusion is going to cause the lead to fall through the cracks because you can't keep track of where people are or why, and that just completely destroys the efficiency of your follow-up.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really valid point. I do see agents I'll log into like their CRM and it's just like bajillions of pipelines. And it's like, how do you keep everybody straight? So, I'm going to ask, right? What pipelines are you using?
Okay, yep, I figured you would ask. So I'm using your Runway out follow-up system. So my pipelines are hot, cold, not responded, dead, and past client.
Okay. And it's kind of crazy because we talked about the Runway out follow-up system. That's something I've been coaching people for years, something I brought in from my previous industry. But what I've found though, is that you actually have a more advanced Runway out follow-up system, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've actually been in your system. Embarrassing. But you actually have one that handles the initial scrub for your leads and involves smart plans. And actually, I think one of my favorite ones I've ever built out.
Yeah, so you turned off the AI assistant for the initial follow-up for us.
That's right.
So yeah, so from there's this custom smart plan. It has a killer conversion rate and it allows the agent to take over basically as soon as the lead raises their hand, so to speak. For those that don't respond to the initial smart plan, then they get moved to the not responded pipeline. And you built us a smart plan there that basically works on getting them to convert. And I think it does something with the AI assistant to get it to follow up with those leads. You also went in and made smart plans for each of the hot, warm, cold pipelines to remind the agent to follow up with the lead at the appropriate times. And it just made follow-up so much easier. It's forcing agents to follow up with the leads in a strategic manner.
So it's funny because I am going to be kind of in the doghouse after this because I've already kind of forgotten what I built out for you. But I do remember. I like that we're on live webinar. Can we keep this going for a while so I'm not in the doghouse for a while? But anyways, I think if I remember correctly, I built this out for you because over the last couple of years, I've noticed that agents are using less and less personalization in their initial follow-up, right? So they hire it out to ISAs, they use text bots, and clients have actually started catching on. And so if we shift out of the mindset of using technology the lead isn't used to yet, we can actually differentiate our follow-up from the other agents in the market. Now, what happens out of this is there's this really cool part, right? Later, when the lead triggers the AI assistant, it actually will engage for you and it will actually attempt a conversation and a conversion. So the lead already if you follow up initially with like an initial smart plan that is using you to follow up, the lead thinks you're a human because they've already seen your follow up. They think you're a real person, and since that lead is now getting followed up with a machine, they assume that the AI assistant is re-engaging them, and that AI assistant is actually human. So Chime is the only AI assistant that I know of that can re-engage using machine learning. So we might as well actually capitalize on that.
I actually just got a text from somebody who's watching this. They want to know if it's something that you build out for other people, or if mine was a one.
Okay, yeah. So I'll answer this, but this is a whole different topic for another time. Yes, I do. It's something we've been working on for a while. We're now able to build out your follow-up using my system. While we haven't really actually technically launched this yet, if someone is texting you on it, yay. If you're interested in figuring out what we built out for Aurora, you can head over to runwayout.com and we'll get you on the wait list. We're hoping to be building this system out for Chime users in like 2 weeks. I wasn't even going to talk about it for another 2 weeks, but this is back to you. You gave us one tip, right? Reduce the number of pipelines. You owe us 2 more tips on simplifying the follow-up.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm off topic. I need more coffee this morning. So my second tip would be to make your communication with leads more relatable, which I think I've talked about this a little bit in other weekly chimes that we've done. But basically it's super easy for agents to start using industry jargon in their follow-up, and it can really push leads away. Most clients don't buy and sell homes all the time, so they don't understand some of the jargon that you're going to use. And if you don't keep things simple for them, you'll lose them as customers. They'll pick an agent that will talk to them and explain things on a level that they can understand. Nobody wants to feel like they're like being talked down to.
Remember how I said I was in the doghouse? I maybe we should have talked before we did this, because she's saying this. So because I was that agent, so she learned, yeah, I was 100% that agent. So when Aurora and I started working together, back in, what was it, 27? Was it 2017?
It was 17, yeah.
Ooh. Okay, so Aurora went on a listing appointment with me where I had this incredible connection with the wife of this party that wanted to sell their house. The wife was an engineer. We were throwing math around. We were talking engineering. It was probably one of the best listing appointments I had been on, because I got to talk math with somebody. So anyways, we're going through this whole thing. And what I didn't pay attention to was the husband literally had no clue what we were talking about, because he was on a different level of where real estate was. He didn't understand real estate the way that his wife did. And so I ended up completely excluding him from the conversation. So needless to say, I thought that I had that listing in the bag. But then, of course, when we got into the car, Aurora was like, you lost the husband 2 minutes in. And there was no way that I was going to get that listing. I think, we put drinks on that, I think. And you won.
Yeah, I usually do.
You usually do. Yeah, you usually do. But from that moment on, that was something that I even had to make sure that I had to explain things at a level that anyone could understand. And you've really taken that to a whole different level.
Well, yeah, I mean, part of that's just my past experience, but I think it's really important. And I think basically to just kind of summarize, the best advice that I could give is when you're explaining real estate, when you're writing your follow-up, you want to write at like a fifth grade level. You want to pretend that you're talking to somebody younger, not in a condescending way, but just simple, right? Simple and direct. It's going to make sure that you don't lose anybody that you're trying to target, trying to convert. And if somebody needs, if they're more experienced, if they do understand the jargon, if they've bought and sold some houses before, they're going to ask you some more pointed questions that you can dive into and, show how much you know. But the point is you want to get them first and then let them ask you those questions.
Sure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think a lot of people, in my opinion, people in the real estate industry should spend time in the service industry of some form to understand customer service from that level. And the nice part is you came from such a customer service background that you understood how to communicate with people, how to connect with people. And it wasn't just like one customer service based industry that you came from. You came from a variety of customer service based, which was, as someone who got to watch you in real estate, that was really, really cool to see, because it didn't just impact your follow-up, it impacted the way I followed up with people. It impacted what I coach these days. I mean, that's stuff that I got to push forward. So, okay, so we got 2 down. I'm trying to keep this, for those of you that don't know, we're trying to keep this on point because we essentially have a newborn that we're trying to keep happy right now. So, final tip.
Yeah, sorry. And big thank you to everybody right now because she's getting a little bit wiggly. But basically, my biggest, my final tip, not my biggest, but my final tip, and this is important, keep your follow-up in the hands of agents who really know the area. It ties into what you were talking about before with people kind of catching on to all this artificial technology or, remote stuff that agents are using these days. Basically, a lot of people are trying to outsource. They're trying to have their follow-up done by remote workers, whether it's, VAs, ISAs, tech spots, or even other agents that just don't know the area that are working remote. And it might seem like a really simple way to keep the follow-up in check, but in reality, you're just going to push people away. It's another way to do it because people don't want to feel like a number. They want to feel like the person they're talking about cares about them and is really deeply connected to the place that they're trying to do business. It's your first impression with a lead. You don't want that to be an outsourced worker that doesn't know your area. That's just not going to be a great first impression.
Yeah, let's actually chat about that one. If she's still doing okay, let's chat about this one for a little bit, because I think there's so many people that miss that critical point, right? If you're not using though remote workers or the AI assistant for the initial scrub, I mean, how are you keeping up with the flow of leads? I think that's something I hear a lot of agents. Well, if I don't use that, how do I keep in front of my leads? How do I keep up?
Sure. I think it's about balance. For me, it's handled by the Runway out system. So basically the initial smart plan handles the speed to lead. And if that lead reaches out and is ready to talk to an agent, then they're connected with an agent on our team that knows our area. If they're not ready to talk, then they can get put on a longer term follow-up that's just trying to get them to be ready to respond. But that way you don't miss the ready to go lead that wants to transact quickly while still maintaining that personal connection.
Okay. I'm trying to, like I said, I know this is going to be a shorter one. Usually we try to keep these right around 30 minutes. For those of you that don't know, poor Aurora has been up literally all night. We have a little kiddo that is keeping her up, and it's super early here because we're up in Alaska. So thank you for getting up early, and thank you for waking kiddo up early. I have a feeling that I'm going to be driving her around most of the day. Is there anything else that you want to throw at us, or anything you want to talk about? Because I've been quizzing you. You gave us your 3. Thank you for doing that, by the way, on simplifying your follow-up. I want to turn the floor over to you. Is there anything that you want to talk about specifically?
I'm going to be honest, no. And thank you to everyone. Basically, I just did the whole reactivation smart plan on my database, and we're so slammed with responses. Between that and taking care of the small child, I am about as busy as I can be.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep this one kind of short and sweet. Aurora, thank you for joining us today. This has been it's been a challenge to get you on one of these. So thank you for getting here and doing this. For those of you that don't know, it's not like we just can do this from like our house. We have no internet at our house. This is like our way of kind of turning off the grid a little bit, which is kind of nice, kind of getting away from things a little bit. So we basically have to drive to the office where we can do these. So Aurora, thank you for waking up super early this morning and waking up the kiddo super early this morning so you can come in here and do this. If you guys have any questions for Aurora, you can always reach out to you don't even have social media, which is that's a topic for a whole different weekly chime. For those of you that don't know, they're like, oh my God, what do I do with my social media? Aurora has not had social media in a long time. And more important, she has no business social media. So she's grown her company with no business social media, which is, from someone like me, absolutely wild. So if you guys ever need anything from any of the weekly chimes, you can catch up on weeklychime.com, or you can reach out to either one of us. You guys have a great rest of your day.